Ooh, streaming through the new YouTube studio. See how this goes. I haven't figured out how to set up a scheduled stream yet. I will eventually. Let's get this microphone closer to my gob. And see if anybody gets notifications. Hopefully so. Hey, Ralph. Congratulations, you found it. Yep, you're the first. Welcome. Okay, if I minimize this and I pop over to this. And can I move this? Oh, good, I can pop out the chat. Good. There we go. That will allow me to see what you are saying right underneath my camera, so I look like I'm actually looking at the camera, which is good. Okay, here we go. It is another cheese and mead stream on a beautiful Sunday morning here in New Zealand. Springtime. And it's time for some cheese. Cheers. Lysander, hello. Moonring. Cormac. Ben. Epic Ulu. Cormac, I don't know if I've seen you in here before. Welcome. Inspector Lovecraft. Comic Nut. Cameron. Bloody Arashok. Hello. Sean. Brent. Rhetoric the Entertainer. Demon Inquisition, good morning. My great benefactor. Hello. Kairos, nice to see you. Long time stream fan. Well, what are we going to talk about today, folks? I've had a lot of interesting, exciting things I've been doing. Hey, listen, thank you. Welcome to Gold Dragon. So, as you know, the Legends of Frozen Far companion, player's companion for the Icewind Dale adventure, and just Ice King's Thunder, or Storm King's Thunder, and anything else that you want to play in this far north. Hey, welcome to Gold Dragon Demon Inquisition. That has now reached silver sales on the DM's Guild, which is pretty good for the first project that I've sort of partaken in. And there's really good Twitter commentaries by Ross, one of the authors of the book, on how he came up and worked on each of the classes, the character class, subclasses on the book, which is really good reading because it gives an insight into our thought processes and inspiration and why we included those things. glad you asked, Moonring. I'm just talking about it. So, Silver Dragon, Silver bestseller on the DM's Guild. It's also the pick of the week for the DM's Guild, which is pretty amazing. And the sales have picked up a little bit because of that, and it's just going really well. So that's good. There's, I think, 5 reviews, which are pretty positive. You're always lurking. Oh, well, it's nice to see you in here. General topic today is just D&D and what's been up. And I'm really just waiting for questions from you guys so we can get started and start talking about stuff. Yeah, go and turn the oven off, Epic Thulu. Don't want you burning the house down. Garth at Photo Imaginarium. Nice to see you. Long time no see. Hey, Emil. Ben. Moist Nurglite. Mitchell. Hey AJ, good to see you, man. I'm just getting ready to GM the 119th session of my long-running game tonight. Your ideas are totally interwoven into our story, from Slard to Rock and more. Thanks. You're most welcome. Wow, 119 sessions is huge, dude. That must be weekly, surely. Will I be doing an extensive look into the nature of polar owl bears? No, probably not, because really it's just an owl bear with different plumage when you think about it. Yeah, I really enjoyed that podcast. I did a podcast with Drawn to the Dungeon with a couple of guys who were asking me lots of interesting questions. My favourite questions in there were they were asking me about the warlock patrons and what elder evils are like, and I said that they create solar systems like wizards create spell circles. So the planets and stuff of the solar system are actually elements of their spells that they are casting, and we're just squatting vermin on top of their spell components. So that sort of blew their minds a little bit. Gave them my best advice for dungeon mastering, which is if you have a really cool idea, throw it into the game straight away. Don't wait around, don't string it out, don't make the players really search for it. Throw interesting and cool ideas into your game as soon as you come up with them, and just keep it up, because every session should be banging. Three Thucks. I haven't done that video yet. Rhetoric. Thanks for making me pronounce that. I don't think I could even attempt that later into this Mead. Oh yeah. I'd say a lot of YouTubers. Hey, the Laughing Storm, born again. I think a lot of people are going to be talking about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything for a very long time. It's a major release for the game. Ben, you have my sympathies, but as always, Americans will pull through. Man, you guys are tough cookies. Yeah, I've seen lots of pictures of the colour of the sky over there. It's quite amazing. As you may recall, back at the start of the year when Australia was on fire, the sky changed colour in New Zealand too. It was that epic. Good evening, Dracos. Pandaren would be a good warlock patron, Moonring, that's true. Must be a demon lord attempting to breach reality, could be. Is the Icewind Dale's Tomb Tapper a new creature? No, it's not. I think it's a creature from earlier editions of the game. I can look into that for you, actually. I'll write that down on my to-do list. The Tomb Tapper. I've heard of that one before, for sure. Sounds like something from the Fiend Folio, but don't quote me on that until I've researched it. Tomb Tapir. Remember, I'm always looking for suggestions, but I can't guarantee when I'm going to get to them. Some was read all the way over here in Phoenix. Wow, that's quite a distance. Hey, thanks, Ben. There are so many different D&D podcasts and YouTube shows out there. Do you listen to any? And if so, do you have any favorites? The shows that I listen, like the live shows that I wish I could catch more often, would be Sir Lucian and Jorfden doing their breakfast D&D show. Unfortunately, it's at like 4 a.m. in the morning, so I only ever catch that if I'm like up way late or up way early, and it's on the same mornings that I do my my live stream, so it's really hard for me to get to it, but I recommend going and watching those guys because they talk about all sorts of stuff. I don't watch a heck of a lot of D&D YouTube stuff, just the same thing that most other people watch. I don't watch Mr. Rex's videos, for instance, just because I don't want to be influenced in any way by what he's doing, and I probably should, because maybe he might suggest what he's going to be doing next and I could avoid doing the same topics or something like that. But generally I don't watch a lot of other D&D YouTubers. I watch like the Joe Rogan podcast and things like that. Like, I like to watch YouTube to sort of kick back and relax in between making content on D&D, so my life isn't 100% D&D. Good question though. As for podcasts, same thing, just don't have the time. If I'm going to be listening to anything while I'm doing something else, it will be music, mostly. Hey, Seamus. What's my opinion? What's my opinion on what? Hey William, I'm working on 5-world Spelljammer setting. I'm reshaping Dragonborn based on inspiration from your video. Oh, nice. Turns into Zug Zug the more you glug glug. True. Thanks, Neon Navarro. Welcome to the live stream. What 5e resources can you recommend for the Feywild and Fey Courts and Lords? There's a couple which are coming out on the DM's Guild right now, Through the Mists, which is a Feywild supplement, and I've written the foreword on the second incarnation of that book series, which will be releasing once it's finished. What else? Probably the Tome of Beasts and the Creature Codex from Kobold Press. They've got a lot of Fey Lords and Fey creatures in there that you can throw into your game that your players may not have heard of in the Monster Manual. As for like inspiration and stuff, fairy tales and fairy tale stories and like The Labyrinth and Krull and all sorts of fantasy movies and things like that. Throw that stuff in there. And you'll be pretty close. The thing to remember the most, I think, the thing that gets sort of thrown out the most with gamers and the Feywild is the fact that you forget what happens in the Feywild when you leave it quite often. Like you're waking up from a dream. So that's quite often the most dropped rule of the Feywild that I've seen. Definitely check out Mr. X. Yeah, well... Mr. Rex and I do the same sort of thing, so it's like I'm watching his videos too critically, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to just sit back and go, let's learn about something, because it's something generally that I know a lot about, and I'm sort of waiting to see whether he covers all the stuff that I know. So it's not the same sort of entertainment. Celestial Paragon series, yep, that's a good one. Yeah, I have already made a lot of creatures that Mr. X is doing now, but he's covering things that I haven't covered yet. Like, for instance, he beat me to the chase on the Displacer Beast, which is a video that should be coming out this week. What the Monster Manual doesn't tell you about Mr. X. Haha. No. Well, his name is Fermin. I know that. Hey Jan Chevik, I don't think Mr. Rex is watching my YouTube videos at all. Why would he? He's busy making his own. We don't jealously guard our knowledge. If anything, I would love to work with Mr. Rex. I've said this many, many times. If he ever watches any of my live streams, he'll get that idea. Yeah, hags do regenerate. I quite often have it so that if hags make offspring, those offspring are trolls. So it's kind of like hags don't make hags. We don't know where hags come from, sort of thing. For research purposes, yeah. How many different types of cheese do you put on nachos? I think 3 is probably a good number. You want a good stretchy cheese, a really tasty cheddar, or a like Parmesan or something like that. Parmigiano, and something else which has got a little bit of pepper to it is quite good. Thanks, Sharkfin Bite. This hat served me well. Hey, Emiliano. Hey, Dog Draws. You used Chewingas today, Dustin. Nice. They gave a good player charm gift of Featherfall. Yeah, very nice. You're most welcome for my videos. I enjoy making them. Hey, thanks, Jeremy. Rex is great, but don't watch one another. We need the diversity. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of people who have conspiracy theories about me and Mr. Rex and Jordan and various other YouTubers. No, we're just a happy brotherhood, really. We do whatever. I wish there was more sisters making monster videos, but it doesn't seem to be a sausage fest of creators at the moment. Oh, if I watch people play D&D, I do occasionally watch Acquisitions Incorporated. I'm not a Critical Role watcher, unfortunately. They're just too long. Like, I haven't got time to sit and watch a live stream for 4 hours. I just don't. A lot of what Mr. X does is go over info that is not in the 5e Monster Manual. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's our job, really, to bring a lot of the literature and stuff that we have in our book collections to the fore. So we research stuff where. It's okay to prefer me to Mr. Rex. It's okay to prefer Mr. Rex to me. It's fine. If you're in here on this live stream and you prefer watching Mr. Rex's videos, at least I've got you here for something that you find entertaining. So that's fine. I encourage people, even if you're going into exactly the same field of making YouTube videos as me or Mr. X or other larger sort of YouTubers, go for it, because you've got an individual voice that people may find more matches their sensibilities and what they listen to and enjoy. So the more people making YouTube videos about D&D, the better, because you're covering more interests, you know. It's not just a couple of white guys, and Mr. X talking about D&D. We need more diversity in our creators. The PH is silent. What a conspiracy. Yeah, different perspectives. Yeah. So yeah, our videos on Steel Dragons between me and Mr. X quite different. Alamia Medusa, I like it. I have really been cranking out those ecologies, it's true, yeah. Yeah, I can't make one every night, unfortunately, so people do catch up. But I also don't want to get too far ahead, because some people will look at, 700 videos and get a bit intimidated. Have I watched any of Dimension 20? I think I've caught a couple, or I'll watch 5 or 10 minutes of a video from a particular creator and get the gist of what they're doing. Sometimes I'll watch the whole thing, or a couple of videos, or a few. I also watch a different range of opinions and things, quite often quite controversial, very different from my point of view. I watch Jeremy Hambley, for instance, because he's got a very different perspective on things than I do. And he also points out problems with YouTube and creators who are having problems with YouTube. So although a lot of people will have a lot of objections to Jeremy Hambley, some people equate watching somebody with agreeing with their ideas, which I think is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing to do. You should watch people who have very different opinions to you. So, deliberately watch people who have very different opinions to you and get a better perspective of what they're talking about. So if you encounter people with those same sort of ideas, at least you're sure in your position. You're not just regurgitating in an echo chamber or a hug bubble of what everyone agrees with. Jordan has been more about locations recently. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I recommend that you watch as many of us as you can. Get different ideas. Ooh, Morgan, nice question. How do you roleplay a 40k Pariah? I've just been playing Inquisition Martyr on the PlayStation 4 every chance I can get in between times. Yesterday was my day off, and I just played Warhammer and watched Star Trek Enterprise for 4 hours whilst drinking more mead. Pariahs are really interesting because they're a soulless, a zero magic individual. So they absorb psychic energy and magic stuff because they don't exist in the warp. It's like if you were an individual in Dungeons & Dragons who was not connected to the weave. The weave just didn't touch you. So around spellcasters, particularly sorcerers, you would be creepy as hell because you'd be like a blank space that they can't sense with a sense they weren't even aware that they had. People who are around pariahs are creeped out by them. They quite often have a blank sort of personality, and they're called blanks because their psychic powers and magic powers don't work on them. and they're completely incapable of using magic items and things like that that require any sort of connection to the weave themselves, because they just don't have it. This also means that they may not have a soul. Beard, nice to see you, man. I'm glad you made it. Hey, Dog Draws. I just rewatched your vids about Vecna and Orcus. I will be playing a Vecna Warlock in an upcoming campaign that will secretly be working against the party. Got any tips? Upcoming campaign that will secretly be working a Vecna Warlock. So Vecna Warlocks are like... Remember that movie The Mummy and the Magi who keep things secret, like guard tombs and stuff, so that you can't uncover what's in there? So they're trying to prevent curses and stuff from being released on the world. That's pretty much a Warlock of Vecna, that sort of thing. So they'll be stealing magic items and stopping the adventurers from delving too far into things that they consider should be remaining secret for whatever reason. So they're abjuration warlocks, for instance. Yeah, that's right. Jeremy Hambley was banned from Magic the Gathering because he criticised the company Wizards of the Coast. And he was he was way into it. That was quite controversial at the time. Make no bones about it, though. The guy is a troll. Don't get me wrong. Hug bubbles are how you catch corona, exactly. You got schooled on Jordan's video about Moonblade lore. My head still hurts. Yeah, I could do you something along those lines about ancient Netheril. Do you think the new source book? I think the source book for Tasha's Cauldron is going to be really good. It's essentially almost an expansion into sixth edition. It's like it's almost like 5.5, right? Because they're talking about messing with how the fundamentally how you make your character, so it's quite a big change. No, Big D, I haven't got any info on Okrel yet. I'll have to look that up for you. The Tranquil from Dragon Age, yeah. Warhammer has got some really, really good rich lore. I would love for there to be a 5th edition Warhammer, because I would play the crap out of that. Like, I love the Warhammer setting. It's my preferred go-to setting for video games, essentially. We're talking about, someone who doesn't have a soul can't attune to magic items. Yeah, exactly. Well, you made it to this one, gosh. Hey, Don. Konnichiwa, Komoe Star. Hello, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for your Thune. Hey, thanks, Rhetoric. Thanks for your Thune monster on D&D Beyond. Really well done, and good info under monster card looking at making Beholder Mind Flayer fighting for self-control under Waterdeep. Excellent. Excellent. That sounds great. There was supposed to be a space in there. Yeah. Yeah, you're on the wrong side of the river. 40k Nurgle, yeah. Thanks, Justin. Hey, Ben, thank you. Thanks, MNU. Thanks, Ben. Do you have any ideas for a noir setting campaign? Maybe the Shadowfell? I was thinking of a Spike Spiegel type character. I would run that in Luskan. Luskan's like perfect for a noir setting that's hard bitten people, drinking, that sort of stuff. If you want to run a proper detective story in a hard setting where people get into fisticuffs and it's run by gangs and things like that, pirate captains and stuff, Luskan's a perfect city for that sort of thing. It's cold, it's rainy, it's got that noir feeling. Be some like tiefling bar singer slinking around in a sequin dress made of fish scales. Warlocks are the funnest spellcasters roleplay. I think they've all got their selling points, honestly. A fantasy troll or an internet troll? He's an internet troll. A political troll in a way too. One of my thoughts on sidekicks, Cormac, I am 100... by the way, hello, Ag Silver Radio. Cormac, I'm 100% in support of support characters and sidekicks, particularly like companion animals. What was that spoiler you were talking about with Indestructible Boy about the crashed ship? That's from the Rime of the Ice Maiden. There's a big artifact buried in the ice there which plays a major part in the story. Hey Camps. AJ, sorry I missed you last week. If I was in New Zealand, I've brought up my Jack Russell to get rid of the rat problem easy. Seems like I've done the trick. The rats are very, very quiet. We cut the trees around the outside of the building, so I don't think they can get back and forth. Plus, my activity up on the roof with laying down rat traps and poison and stuff like that has freaked them out. And also there's been a death in the family, which caused quite a lot of contention, and they were fighting each other up there. And now it's been very, very quiet. So I think they may have actually moved on. Time will tell, though. Or maybe the poison was highly effective and now they're all dead and about to stink up my ceiling. And I have to crawl up there and get them. No, I haven't tried Red Dragon Cheese. We do have something similar to that in New Zealand, but I haven't tried the authentic thing yet. What's your favourite Warhammer faction, Sigma, or 40k? It's definitely 40k. It varies. I honestly am a fan of Space Marines. And then it comes down to which chapter that I like. For alien factions, though... I don't know, man. I'm not really a big fan of orcs for some reason. I really like orcs, but not as an army faction. I'd probably, if I was running an army on a table game, it would probably be Eldar, because I like the speed and tactics. Yeah, Luskin Noir setting, absolutely. You stopped playing around 3rd edition? Oh yeah, that was a while ago. I think people who were 2nd edition fans, like AD&D fans, probably would like 5th edition. It's quite simplistic already, but I mean, if you've been playing 2nd edition for a long time, you're already basically a storyteller who uses your version of the rules. So 5th edition gives you a lot more options to delve into for advancing your game and using things in shortcut form, using a formal sort of rule setting for stuff that you've probably been shortcutting in favor of better storytelling already anyway, you know. That's okay, Corey. You wouldn't happen to have any book recommendations for what, Beard? Anything in particular that you want a book recommendation for? Like, are you talking like a novel or a resource book or what? Hey, Dracos. Oh, you saw, yeah, the Moonblade. Thanks, Dennis. Overschooled and underexperienced, starting my campaign next Saturday. Any advice for session 0? I would recommend having one of those sheets where you go over all the different elements of the game and what your players are in favour or not in favour of. But mainly be talking about their characters and the setting. So what you want to do is establish a place where the game begins on a small scale. So you're working from the bottom up with characters. So work out where their characters fit into the game world. Like if they have got a very exotic character, ask them how their character got there in the first place. So what was the lead up to, like what happened in the week before this character met any of the others? Or if they've met each other and known each other for a long time, run through without any rules and stuff, talk through the adventure that they had in the past, as though they're recalling it over some drinks. Like, so get them to start talking in character, and not play any rules or anything. You're basically just theatre sporting it. You're just ad-libbing what happened, and they're all riffing off your different ideas. The story can be as outlandish as they want. There's no chance of their character dying or anything like that. But they're just like, hey, you remember that time when we scaled that orc, that palisade wall at that orc village? And then the other person goes, oh yeah, that's right. And I caught my my greave on one of the things when I was hanging off there, and then somebody had to use one of your spells to get me off, and blah blah blah. So that establishes in their minds what their characters are before the adventure even begins. So when you start the adventure, you'll be diving straight into the actual story, and they've already got their characters established in their minds, and the relationships between them are starting to form in their minds as well. And then, so you've already got that tight unit, which is ready to expand into your world. And then you just lay down the story in front of them like you're laying red carpet. You know, it's like, and whatever direction they go, you're laying down more story and expanding the world around them. So don't worry so much about world building. Start small and then expand the world as they travel and move. And if you're using a set adventure and they start deviating off the path, let them. Yeah, so that's okay. But mainly the session 0 is establishing what people are comfortable with, what themes and elements that you can include in the game, how they handle problem situations and stuff like that. It's also a good way of assessing your players, not just them assessing you and the story, but assessing how the players are getting on with each other. Because sometimes you're going to need to step in on a session 0 and say, hey man, your behavior at the table is not okay. This can be somebody who's like constantly provoking somebody with like a rogue character that's like stealing their stuff, or, you know, an orc who's threatening all the NPCs, things like that. Something that can really get in the way of the story. Hey, not a dog. I've tried the Fantasy Age game that is at the basis of the Dragon Age RPG. I haven't played the computer game, but I have played the system that they use for Dragon Age without Dragon Age attached to it. What's so special about Space Marines? Dude, that's a clear provocation. AJ, do you know of any particular source books from any different editions that would lend themselves to a Three Kingdoms era of China setting? Like, if you look at Cormier, Sembia, and Impultur, and that area of the Forgotten Realms around the Sea of Fallen Stars, look around the Sea of Fallen Stars, and you can actually run an adventure like that, like a campaign with Turmish and Cormier and Sembia and Impultur, and Jacinta and Mulhorand as and of course Thay as trading nations that may actually get involved in land wars. So yeah, they've all got borders, they've all intersecting across that shared sea. So yeah. Do you think we'll ever get an edition set in Karatua? Not unless somebody no, not in the current climate. No, I don't think so. A fantasy novel. I would say if you haven't read Magician, definitely read that. What else? The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Definitely read that. Why do I think the Warhammer Space Marines are the best faction? Because they're the diversity and their different chapters. Like the Space Wolves are entirely different from the Ultramarines and the Golden Fists and things like that. So you've got those different types of flavors of the chapter. They have a very good reason for existing. They've got excellent, solid place in the story, and they sort of match my personality. My base sort of personality in the game is crusading. So yeah. How to start a fight. What else? The Dresden novels are really good as well. Hey, Mr. L. Hey, Jam the Ooze. It's a cool idea how to do a recap. Yeah, it's a recap, so it's a pre-cap, you could say. How to do a pre-cap in your adventuring. That's also a really good suggestion for using skills, doing a skill check. When the character is doing the skill check, they have to relate, like they don't roll a dice. What they do is they have to come up with a backstory, a previous lesson that they learned in their character's life that relates to what they're doing right now. And if the story is good enough, they succeed in their task. So you take away the dice and make them roleplay it. Only do that if they're feeling confident about role-playing in character or talking in character, or bringing that sort of spontaneous storytelling to the table. Don't force them to do that. Just say, hey, would you like to role-play that instead? And tell us about where you learned the skill, like what happened in your character's past. So this gives them an opportunity to bring up NPCs, mentors, the place where they trained in their powers and stuff. It gives other players around the table more insight into their character. It's a really good way to immerse them into that character story and give them depth and fill out give them some satisfying character story arcs. Also, as a dungeon master, it gives you an opportunity to, hey, who's this mentor that you mentioned? Where's this this academy located? What were you doing when you opened that chest or whatever, or that iron gate, or when you scaled that wall? Whereabouts was that? So you can include all these elements that tie their character into the story. It's a really good way of doing it. Also, they know that if all they have to do is tell a good story, and they're going to succeed on their task. So, win-win. I do not run a 40k tabletop army, unfortunately. No. Yeah. Magnus and his Space Marines. Haha. Thanks, Robert. Hey, AJ. Players headed into a Lithid colony in the Underdark only to find it deserted. They'll soon discover the Neolithid that is the culprit. Any ideas to flesh out the deserted city? Well, if you've got Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes and you've got a good layout, they like to arrange their city in a series of rings, almost like a flying saucer, right? So it'll be a series of rings that are smaller on the top and bottom and expand out into a bigger network of rings. So you've got these big chambers which are connected by corridors. It's very much like a spaceship, like an organic spaceship. The floor itself would be like, it feels leathery, like, because the characters have probably never encountered rubber, for instance, but it's actually sort of like an organic compound, like a jello-like substance. So you put your hand into this gooey control panel, which is actually neural fibers. So you're putting your hand into artificial brain, and you're squeezing things which are actually like organelles and things, and piping and stuff swells up, and like you move your hand over a surface and it ripples with goosebumps. Like, it's organic technology. It's kind of weird and creepy. There's a lot of black and slick things. It's gooey. There's strange smells, and also mutant creatures and mewling horrors inside of chambers and stuff like that from all the experimentations, because the Mind Flayers might not necessarily take those with them, and the Neolithid might not be able to get at them. Like, if it doesn't have a lot of intelligence, then the Neolithid is not going to find it very interesting. It just sort of can't detect things that don't have a brain. So there may be lots of non-thinking living creatures which are still lurking around in there. So their version of like a scarab Roomba, which is cleaning up rooms and surfaces and stuff, and may accidentally start chewing on somebody's foot. That sort of thing. They may have a duster, which is essentially a nest of tentacles. Hey, Mr. Sai. Well, hopefully we can distract you and cheer you up a little bit. Do I know of any Spelljammer modules for 5th edition? Not really. You'd have to check the DM's Guild. There's probably something in there. A little bit too close to the camera. Sorry. It's because I'm like squinting to read the thing. Yeah, how about that? A flying Neolithid, one that hovers. That would scare the crap out of anyone. How's the map making going? I haven't started on my second map. I think I might map Hellruer. But I was kind of distracted this week with like the release of the Heroes of Frozen Far on the DM's Guild. And also the sticker, the tracker sticker, that I've got on sale in my Teespring store. And you can see the mug that you can buy with the new logo on there. Thanks, Adrianath. Have I got any interest in Baldur's Gate 3? Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to be playing the crap out of that. To open the doors, you have to flick the exposed neurons. Yeah, exactly. Are there Mind Flayer clerics? Yeah, they use psychic powers, though, to do the same sort of thing. You ask your players to write down 3 rumours about their characters, one of them being true. When they meet up in the tavern, they'll hear the rumours about their allies. All good fun. That's a good idea. Legends of Frozen Far, the player's companion to Icewind Dale. I love the new logo. I was so happy with like working with a really good graphic artist who like works quickly, and they ask you a lot of questions, and they like he made 6 different logo versions as well as like the banner thing. Perfect. Exactly what I asked him for. And that was exactly what I was looking for, was just a cleaner version that fixed a couple of issues with the thing. Like, you know, you have something that you're associated with, you see it every day, and there's like little things which like bother you about it. And I just wanted a cleaner version, pretty much of the same design. Like, I really like Josh Summers' original design for the logo. I just wanted to fix a couple of things. I wasn't particularly happy with the flowery bits on the sword, the second sword, and it was a little bit rough, you know. I needed a proper good vector art thing so I could blow it up and use it for different things. Cleric for Tamora and Red Knight would be awesome. It's Knight, as in like Knight with a K, the Red Knight. And it's a she. Red Knight is a she. Ah, yeah. Thomas Robinson, original AD&D, second and third edition D&D are D&D as is, first edition Pathfinder, but anything after these are really something else, but are just being called D&D as is second edition Pathfinder. Well, I'm currently playing second edition Pathfinder on Saturdays, and it plays just like D&D. Like when you're sitting down at the table and talking, and you know you're playing Dungeons and Dragons. The rules, like there's feat requirements and things. Like, I'm sort of not used to requirements anymore in D&D, but you go back into Pathfinder second edition and they turn their requirements up quite a bit. Like, you know, have you got this prerequisite and that prerequisite before you do this? So it's a little bit weird. What's the size on the mug? It should be listed on the page. If you go to the product page, it'll tell you what the size the mug is. It's like it's smaller than this mug. It's more like that size. Well, that's not really much of a. It's more like that size. If that makes any sense. It's an okay sized mug. It's not a huge mug. It's a good one. It's good for like a cup of tea or a coffee. Red Knight is an interesting god. Yeah, tactical god. For the Emperor. The Emperor protects. Also, if you're getting the tactical sticker, like the tracker sticker, Get the larger version, not the die cut one. Get the other one and the larger version, which is the 5 by 7 inches one. Because otherwise, you'll have to write really small with a fine tip whiteboard marker. Hey, thanks, Robert. It brings up the question for me: how do you roleplay the people of Helruer? What type of accents and mannerisms and values should the people have? So they have a slightly Italian accent because they come from a culture which is very similar to the Greek states or Roman Empire. But at the same time, a lot of the cadence and speech of spellcasters and wizards has worked their way into their language, so they have a lot of strung together large words that use a lot of gnomish, nim, so they sound kind of Greek. Also, they come from a hot country. It's hot and humid, so they wear togas and robes and things like that, and turbans and stuff. So they wear clothing to wick away the sweat and heat and stuff of the day, so they shade themselves from the sun and things, and they have a lot of like air conditioned feathered plumes and stuff in their villas and things like that. Their communities are quite small, and they are outspoken public speakers and fairly flamboyant. So their communities are usually about like 8,000 people in a city. So what would be a town somewhere else is a city in Helruer. They keep their population small and kind of exclusive and elite. So yeah, they're a little bit up themselves. They're very polite. They have a lot of social niceties and a lot of social ritual involved in meetings and public events and private dinners and things like that, and weddings and ceremonies and stuff like that are very formal. Because in a culture where somebody can snap their fingers and blow your nose off or turn you into a chicken, politeness becomes very important. So yeah, there's a lot of flowery speech and things like that, and they carry themselves with their robes and stuff, and they walk around proudly. Their personal reputations are very important. Their scholarly reputations are very important as well. So yeah, you can give them a Roman or a Greek or even a Romanian accent. Is quite fitting. Scorch 2000 wants to know if you've seen the new Dune movie trailer. Yes, I have, and I am super excited. No, I haven't tested that cheese yet. A banana for scale. Bananas come in a variety of different sizes, man. That's no. Red Knight would track a little bit with Athena, yeah. Yeah. I don't really like the layout of the Pathfinder book very much. John Calder, that's interesting. Kobolds for that one. Yeah, kobolds would probably be make poop golems. Far out. That hour has passed by really quickly. What's your take on a cleric of the two gods? Justification being that often the best strategy is to play the odds. Yeah, so talking about polytheistic religion in the Forgotten Realms, somebody else talked about this, about how it seems like in a polytheistic world, all the clerics being devoted to one god or the other is kind of unrealistic. Not really. You're following the calling of a particular god. You can't follow the calling of all the different gods, because the gods will have different quests and different things to do. And you can't be in a position where you're a servant of a god that is conflicting with the wishes of another god, because the two gods are in conflict with each other. That's just not a good place to be in as a mortal. Also, you're aligning with the god which closely matches your deepest personality and goals and wishes and dreams and stuff, with the idea that the ideal for a cleric is to eventually merge with the god as one and become a part of that god. So being a polytheistic soul that splits into all the different no, it just doesn't work. So yeah, that's the reason why that clerics tend to follow one god or the other. They don't follow all of them. But in their day-to-day practices, they do stop at different shrines of different gods and pray to each of the different gods. I mean, their life is dominated by the existence of a god. So they know the other gods are real. So they stop at those shrines and they pray to them. They also have respect for monster gods and stuff and know that they're real too. So they won't desecrate a shrine to Groomsh, for instance. That's something very important to think about. Lean more towards Space Ninja? Rashomon and Thay, yeah. What location in the Forgotten Realms would you have a Swedish accent? So that would be the original Luskan culture of Ruatham. Ruatham and a little bit the Moonshae Isles, but that's more of a... there's a bit of... like the Faroes Islands and stuff. There's some places where they have a sort of an Irish-Swedish accent. Googling Halrua, it's in between the Mare jungles and the Great Swamp and Dambrath. So if you go from Chult past Samarak and Thindle and the Black jungles and Mare jungles, then you hit Halrua. So if you travel from the coast of Kalimshan across the Shining Sea, then over the desert like Lapalaya, then you hit the wastelands, and then there's a big mountain range, and you go over the mountain range, there's Halrua. Easy. Yeah, books is great. It's not a fantasy book though. So I'm definitely doing the Displacer Beast, and I'm not sure. Maybe Frost Giants. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see where the fancy takes me. Ooh. Would a race like vampires or particularly intelligent Otyugh using a summon food spell create a puddle of blood or a rotten meat? No. So the summon food and drink spell creates water and gruel. The gruel being essentially porridge, oats and water, or like barley and water. It's gruel. You would have to create a different type of spell to create a puddle of blood or rotten meat. Willie, yeah, I suppose you could do something like that. We're talking about like Taoism and stuff. When you're talking about their different souls. Yeah, I've got two maps. I've got a big map on my wall here, but it doesn't have a lot of. It's like too small. It's got the entire world, right? But it's too. The details are too small for me to see the individual names. And I've got my other map here, which has got just Faerun. So yeah, that's why I'm constantly looking over here at the map on my wall. Yeah, I was thinking about doing Cloud Giants. Frost Giants and Cloud Giants seem pretty important at the moment. Maybe I'll wait a little bit to see what happens in Rime of the Frost Maiden. See if there's any variants there. I don't think there's any variant giant types in the monster list there, so maybe I'll get into it. Groomsh is... Thanks, John. Groomsh is a very dominant god. So he's the god that first killed another god in the conflicts between them. And so he's feared and respected in that regard. His justification, like his hatred and stuff like that, is not often justified. And remember, The events that the different races talk about with their gods are their mythologies. It's not necessarily historically accurate that Grumsh was cheated out of the homelands of the various other, it's not necessarily true. It's just what their religion tells you. So, for instance, the dwarves have got a different story about the origin of the Dwagar than the Dwagar do. And the Dwagar have got a different origin story of the Dero, and the dwarves have got a different origin story of the Dero, and the Dero have got a different origin story of the Dero. But back in Greyhawk, the truth of where the Dero came from is spoken of, but the Dero back on Faerun don't know what that truth is. Their mythology has actually concealed the truth of their origins. So, yeah, there's the truth of their origins in the real world, and then there's their origins in their religious history, which are entirely different from each other. So that's something to keep in mind. Moonshade Isles video, soon. I do actually have the 5th edition source book for the Moonshade Isles. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. No, I haven't read the Codex Alera series, Devil Tam. Create food and water for a vampire, just summons a random villager. Sure. Hello. Job's done. What is the best monster and why is it Slard? Slardy. Yeah, I mean, you guys don't want me to rush into a video on giants. You want me to do a good job when I'm in a giant mood. Maglubliat? All hail Maglubliat, our conquering god. Rather. Huchatar. What place in the Forgotten Realms do you want to see a campaign book for? Helrua! Clearly. Villager cantrip, yeah. Summon servant. Hururuk Maglubliat Ra. No, I haven't read Rime of the Frostmaiden yet. I get it at the same time you guys do. I am not on Wizards of the Coast mailing list for product reviews, because I live in New Zealand. It's 1,000 million miles away. I do know who to get hold of if I do want to review copies of things, and I probably should, considering that you guys are probably interested in seeing stuff from me on reviewing titles before they get here. What god did he kill? I'm drawing a blank on that one. I know it, but I don't know it right away. Oh, I can't remember. Thanks, Epic Thulu. Robert Wilson, thank you. Who of these three do you think is most deserving of their current D&D meme deity status? Shaggy Rogers, Nigel Thornberry, or Mr. Rogers? Nigel Thornberry. What? Epic Thulu, thank you. What sort of D&D chapter books do you enjoy most? I also like to suggest the Brimstone Angels series if you ever find enough time for a book audible. Oh yeah. I wish Dan Ablett, whoa, thanks Team Inquisition. I think Dan Ablett did some of the best Warhammer 40k books with his Gaunt's Ghost series. So I wish there was something like that he did for D&D. Like with a band of adventurers who lose members each sort of book. That would be really cool. Would be nice to see a video on Zargon, who was apparently the original ruler of Baator. By extension, something covering the original Baatorians would be really cool. The fact that apparently even Asmodeus couldn't kill Zargon, oh boy, yeah, that's true. Like the Nupatino and various other Baatorian devils are the original residents of the Hells, for instance, Baator. So yeah, okay, you're on. How could I say no to a to a super chat like that? How could I say no? You take the time and show the Jotnar proper respect in their videos. Only the finest will do. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, not a dog. How would I port the Book of the Dead into Spelljammer with a massive Spelljammer ship being overrun with a hive mind of undead? Well, the undead do tend to be more intelligent in the hive and in wild space and out in the phlogiston for some reason. Like even skeletons can, after some time, show a modicum of tactical reasoning in Spelljammer, which is quite interesting. Oh, Grooms killed Ray. That's right, he did. Yeah, the Mulhorundan invasion. The Mulhorandi gods. Thank you, Mimi. What kind of accent would I give for a deep Amaskari? Ooh, good question. Probably like an Egyptian type accent. Yeah, because they were influenced by the import of people from Mesopotamia and Egypt, right? So the Milan people have got an Eastern accent. But don't get too hung up on accents. People travel a lot in the Forgotten Realms. Will I do it this week? Possibly. I mean, I haven't made a video on demons and devils and stuff for quite a while, so maybe I should get back into that. I think it's time. Hey, no problem, Michael. Mitchell, sorry. Teaming up with Jubilix. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Zarkon is a cool character. What race would I say have a Germanic accent? I don't know. That's very specific, actually. I don't know. Wouldn't it be funny if all the people from Waterdeep did? The thing is that Common, that's spoken in Arm and Termish and Cormier and the Sword Coast, is based on Thoras, which is a French-Italian sounding language. So somewhere in there you could have a Germanic sort of crossover between the ancient Luskan language. So maybe the people who live around Icewind Dale and stuff have a Germanic accent. Who knows? Maybe the Reged barbarians sound a little bit Germanic. Hey, thanks, William. What is the name of the undead primordial rogue moon thing that causes death and undeath when it comes close to Toril? That is... not Atropal, Atropus. Atropus? I think it is. Which giants had multiple arms? Oh, the 100-handed from... Oh, well, there's Gigantes. Yeah, Atropus. And there's the 100-handed, which are from Greek mythology. Also, there's some giants from Theros, which have got multiple hands, which are based on Greek mythology, obviously. It sounds right. Any idea when we get a sequel to the Page of Lawkeeper Pickett? When I can afford it and when Taryn can spare the time to compose it. Lunagast. That's the most uninspired name. The Goblin Moon God, the Bad Moon. Bad Moon! Hecatoncheires. Hecatoncheires? Is that how you pronounce it? The single-armed giants. Oh, I definitely play in Theros, for sure. Thanks, Robert. What accent do the giants have? The giants have a Scandinavian accent. More tours, not roars. They've got a Viking, Scandinavian accent. Norse. They sound Norse. Hekaton Cheris. Any more character class videos? I'll let you know. Mono Cheris. Think all the giants should sound different? Well, they like a hill giant sounds kind of stupid. Hekaton Cheris. Hekaton Shore. Nice. Thanks for the phonetics, guys. Okay, it's time for me to go, everyone. It's been another fantastic live stream. Thank you very much. Giants definitely have a Minnesotan accent. Fire giants are German. Oh yeah, German engineering. That makes sense. The hill giants sound like they're from Arkansas. Nice. All right, everybody. Catch you later. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you again next week.